Okay, it's 10:30, so let's get started.
Thank you.
Oh,
Hey,
it
Dan.
looks like I'm
Thank you.
alone.
I'm sorry.
I said, let's get started. There's no one here.
I don't even know.
Nice to
I
meet
might
you.
not have the right amount.
Are we going to have anybody else in New York City?
Oh, they read, yes, come right in.
I know we're waiting, where's Ernita and David?
They're not down here yet.
They're not down here, okay, I'm gonna make a quick phone call.
Good morning. Are you a member of the public?
Yes.
Please sign in.
They told me there were free donuts here.
Members of the public must sign in.
That would be a new one.
Get back here. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Good morning. Are you a member of the public?
Philip?
You're a board member? Board member? See your name on the table? Okay.
Oh, this is running out of
Hi, how are you?
What's your name, sir?
Sorry for the spread out here.
There we go.
Hi, how are you? Diane Ramirez. Hi, nice to see you.
She signed in, signed out.
I don't have a name for place for you. That's fine.
I had Maxine in the gym, and they had to insert a pin in it because it couldn't get straightened.
That'll sound good in my ear. In the middle of
Beginning of January. But May 1, the pin comes out, and it hasn't stopped me from going to the gym, but I stay away from the medicine ball, which is what I did at
Is that David?
Yeah, there was a big crash.
Is that David? Yes. Do we have Ernita?
Good morning, Arnita. Good morning. They're waiting for you guys.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm gonna leave it to you guys first. Well.
Starting off well.
Hi Dave, how are you? Diane Ramirez, good to see you. No, I don't know.
All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning, it's a little bit after 10:30, so we're gonna get started. Good morning, this is a meeting of the New York State Board of Real Estate. My name is Whitney Clark, I'm the Director of the Division of Licensing Services. I'm going to be standing in today for Charles Fields as Chair of the Board. So let's get started. Let's go around the table, start in Albany, and introduce ourselves for the records.
I'm Amy Density, I'm Assistant Director of Licensing.
Jody DeLallo, Department of State Licensing.
Nancy Harrigan, Department of State Licensing.
Mark Mastrobuono, Department of State Licensing.
Donna Zoller, Department of State Licensing.
Marcella Rose, Department of State Licensing.
Dan Hartnett, NYSAR, and Berkshire Hathaway CNY Realty.
Mary Jo Moore, Department of State Licensing.
Sharon Charlin, Division of Licensing, Board Coordinator.
And in New York. Start with you, Diane.
Diane Ramirez, Real Estate Board Member.
Jeremy Schildkraut from the Department of Financial Services.
Dale Burnett, Real Estate Board Member.
Dave Mossberg, Department of State.
Anita Gant, Department of State.
Okay, and unfortunately we do not have a quorum. Fortunately, we don't have anything really substantive on the agenda this morning. So jumping right into it with the department reports. Ernita, could you please update the board on enforcement activities?
Well, the division is continuing the education audit program. Again, we do random selecting of renewal applications. Between December 2016 through March 2017, approximately 360 continuing education audits were conducted. There was approximately 80% full compliance. Of those that were not in compliance, we collected approximately $27,000 in fines. The licensees who were fined were issued settlement offers and given the opportunity to take whatever missing courses that they had and submit their completion certificates. there were no recommendations for hearing for full noncompliance. And that's my report.
Thank you, Arnita. Does anybody have any questions for Arnita? Okay, thank you very much. Education Committee report, Mark Mastrobuono.
All right, we don't have a subcommittee report at this time. There's nothing that we're currently working on. We're waiting results of past subcommittee. But I wanted to mention that the Bureau has been accepting courses that are of less than 3 hours. Beginning in early January, we began to accept courses at a minimum of 1 hour. This is very important to meet the law of agency requirement, which came into effect January 1st. We're getting lots of courses that are 1 and 2 hour agency related courses. Some schools are blending a fair housing agency course so that the licensees can meet both requirements with 1 course. We are also updating a list on our website of courses that have been approved to meet the law of agency requirement. Again, a course does not have to be on this list in order to be approved for law of agency. However, a school must identify courses that have been approved in the past that may contain law of agency subject matter. And of course, we'll take a look at that outline and add them to the list. And again, I just felt it was important to note that being on the list isn't the what is required for the course to be accepted for law of agency. It's the actual content. So if a course does contain law of agency, a licensee will get credit for that. So it's an ongoing process of getting the courses added to the list, and we're updating that as quickly as possible. Again, courses that contain agency may not always start with the word agency in the title. So what we've done is we add the word agency so that anyone going on to our e-access public license search trying to find courses that meet the agency requirement can put in the word agency, and they'll get a listing of all of the courses that we have approved at this time for law of agency. And any schools that still have courses that they haven't submitted for agency approval that may have been approved in the past should certainly do so if they wish to have those courses added to our website list. That's all I have at this point.
Thank you, Mark. Does anybody have any questions for Mark? No? Okay, thank you very much. We're going to skip over the approval of the meeting minutes since we do not have a quorum. I'm going to open this up to new business. Diane, I understand you have a couple of items that you'd like to bring to the table.
Yes, thank you very much. The first is something I brought earlier. In the statement of complaint, which is Division of Licensing Services 1 that says preliminary statement of complaint. I can give you the number if needed. What I would like to see if we could have changed on that is if a firm needs to report a complaint about an agent who has done anything inappropriately, because it really doesn't, there is nowhere on the current form to allow us to appropriately do that. So I think all the form would need would be a place for the firm name and the contact person, then the agent's name and license number, the description of the activities that are in question, including the dates and witnesses and the action that the firm has taken, so that this could be used for real estate firms as well as for the general public.
Okay, that seems as though to be a pretty easy revision to the form. What I'll do, I'll have staff mark it up and put a revised copy in the meeting folders for our next meeting.
Okay, that would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Diane.
And then the second item that I had was some clarity, if you could, about property managers. We also have a property management company, and our understanding is that the Department of State has reached out possibly to another management company within New York, stating that property managers cannot hold corporate titles. And I'd just like clarity if that's true, since some of our property managers do have a vice president title. They don't deal with the general public as an agent does. We do require them to maintain a license, because occasionally they will recommend business to an agent, and we allow them to receive a fee, but only by having a license. But I'm not certain if, in fact, the ruling about corporate titles is needed for property management functions, manager functions. Am I being clear?
You are. I'm going to turn this over to David, since he's the expert on titles. David, I'm sorry, I know I just sent this to you this morning. Did you have a chance to look at this?
Unfortunately not. I did receive the email this morning with the question. Yes. So I don't think it's necessarily appropriate me sort of to give like an answer without having fully reviewed it.
Oh, absolutely.
I do know some basic rules. So for example, some things I could say without doing the research that I feel comfortable saying are, if, for example, you're talking about a salesperson or somebody like an associate broker,
right?
If they're actually using like a real corporate title, that would be a prohibition, only because, notwithstanding any of the advertising rules or the prior opinions, is that there's a specific prohibition against salespeople and associate brokers being corporate officers of the company they're associated with.
And that I'm absolutely clear on.
So, I mean, depending on whether or not like they're using the corporate title because they're actually in that position, that I can say would run afoul of the department's statutes, notwithstanding looking into the advertising issue with the relatively new regulation on advertising. But what I can do is, review the question that I received today.
Thank you, and my apologies for the late submission. It just came to my attention.
And then hopefully at the next board meeting, when
that
there's
would be great.
The full board here, hopefully I'll be able to give an opinion on that.
Great, and if you need any further information on this, we can exchange cards. And great.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Does anyone else have any items of new business they'd like to bring up today? No. Okay, so turning it over to public comment period. I see we have some visitors in New York, so let's start New York City. If you're a member of the public and you'd like to address the board and the department, please come up to the table and identify yourself for the record. No?
Just observing.
Just observing, okay. In Albany, anyone who'd like to give public comment? Step up, sir.
My name is Michael R. Franklin. I'm a licensed New York State real estate broker from Syracuse. I'd like to read a statement. It'll take approximately 3 minutes. But before I do, I'd like to relay a little reflection I had while driving over from Syracuse on the thruway today. A few weeks ago, there was a story in the Syracuse newspapers about an auction that there was in Syracuse at One Park Place. It's one of the larger buildings in downtown Syracuse. And there was an auction done by an out-of-state auctioneer, not a licensed operator, but in conjunction with some commercial brokers who were licensed. And so I checked out the webpage on the auctioneer's webpage, and lo and behold, it said, for questions that pertain to the auction process, please contact the member at the auctioneer's company, which is completely appropriate. And below that, it says, for questions pertaining to the property, contact the broker about the property, which is also completely appropriate. And not only that, but they sold the property, seemed to get a pretty good price, and they did a heck of a job. And I applaud them for doing it properly, because you know, I don't know if I should make a big deal about them doing it properly, because that's what they're supposed to do, but it seems to be a bit of an anomaly. But they did a fantastic job, and they're competitors, and I salute them for doing what it is that you're supposed to do. Licensed people who were conducting licensed activities had licenses, and those that didn't, you know, the auctioneers, they did things that don't require a license, and they did a heck of a job. That's the way it's supposed to be, but that isn't apparently the way it is oftentimes, in my experience. So to my statement, my topic is the timeliness and professionalism in which the New York State Department of State responds to complaints and to the lack of law enforcement and cooperation between law enforcement agencies as it pertains to the New York State real property law. I'd like to read an excerpt from the very first sentence of the New York State real property law, Article 12A. For another and for a fee, this for sale, sells at auction or otherwise, exchanges, buys or rents or offers or attempts to negotiate a sale at auction or otherwise, and interest in real estate. And it goes on. Again, this is the very first sentence of the New York State real property law, where it mentions not once, but twice, specifically in one sentence, via auction or otherwise. What does this mean? It means it is apparent that any reasonable person could conclude that you need to have a license to sell real estate in New York, whether it is at auction or otherwise. Department of State investigators John Goldman, Fred Weekly, Ernest Delaney, and Department of State Senior Attorney John E. Kenny, K-E-N-N-Y, have spent a year and a half indicating otherwise. I filed a complaint with them regarding an unlicensed auctioneer conducting licensed activities almost 2 years ago. It took them a year and a half to give me a 2-sentence condescending response that is not only not true, it's disingenuous at best. It's an insult to me and to any brokers to be treated with such disrespect that I was treated with by these people over a course of a year and a half. The Department of State, what I've learned in the course of this year and a half is that anybody can sell real estate in New York without a license. Anybody. Apparently no one has ever been prosecuted for selling real estate in New York without a license. That is my understanding. That's what I've been told from all the people I've spoken to on this issue. And yet it happens every day. I saw it mentioned at the last meeting that we had of this board, and it didn't seem as though any action was taken on it. The New York State Department of State has no jurisdiction over people who do not hold licenses. I understand that. New York State Attorney General's office does have jurisdiction, but has never and apparently has no intention of enforcing New York State real estate licensing law. That's my understanding. I'm not sure that it's true because I don't know all the circumstances, but that's what it is that I've been told. New York State Department of State does not work cooperatively with the New York State Attorney General's office to enforce New York State real estate licensing laws. This loophole is highly detrimental to brokers, the agents, and the public. I personally have been seriously damaged by the lack of law enforcement in this regard, and the public is damaged by it every day. I have fulfilled my obligations to the New York State real property law. My experience is that most brokers and agents have upheld their responsibilities. Most of them, not all of them. I ask the Department of State and Attorney General cooperate to uphold their responsibilities to ensure a level playing field in this industry for the benefit of all. In summary, the following is my requested action. Number 1, require New York State Department of State investigators respond to complaints within 5 business days. When a complaint is filed against an agent or a broker, the Department of State requires the agent or broker to respond within 5 business days or risks having their license suspended. I think that I don't see that the Department of State investigators are more busy than brokers and agents or the public in general. I think everybody's busy. I request that they resolve 99% of their issues within 30 days and the balance within 90 days. A year and a half is simply unacceptable under any circumstances. Number 2, New York State Department of State needs to cooperate and coordinate with the New York Attorney General's office to enforce the licensing law. Now, I understand they don't do that. And I attempted to communicate with with them in this regard as well. And frankly, the response from the Department of State was far superior to the Attorney General. I got an incredible runaround from them. And I understand that probably from their perspective, the Department of State regulates massage therapists, people who cut hair, and they're probably not going to go around, putting people in jail for cutting hair without a license. But what I suggest to you is, and it seems to me that the Department of State has little respect for real estate agents and brokers. What they don't seem to understand is that real estate brokers have access to people's homes. They have access to where people's children sleep. They have the keys to their homes, number one. Number 2 is they are in many cases dealing with people's largest asset. And people's financial futures are at hand. And the Attorney General and the Department of State treat it as if we're second-class citizens. And I put my entire livelihood into taking the Department of State regulations seriously, right down to the size of the font in my advertisements. And yet anybody can sell real estate without a license in this state. No issue. Never been prosecuted. So there's no threat of prosecution. I just wonder why I've been licensed for 12 years. It's like I'm some sort of a circus act jumping through hoops. For what? I never needed a license to begin with, apparently. These auctioneers are doing exactly what I wanted to do 15 years ago. And they come in and they compete with me, and they stole a $3.5 million listing from me. Not only that, they stole my photography. They had the guts to do that. And they listed and sold the property in Saratoga Springs for $7.9 million. They did one in Fire Island. 2 of them in Skinny Island was like $3.5 million a piece. And nothing. And Goldman and Delaney, and this sat on Delaney's desk for 6 or 7 months, and all I get is this condescending letter.
Mr. Franklin, do you have a copy of that letter you could leave?
Yes, I do.
All right. I know you traveled a long way to be here, but if you could just please wrap it up.
Yeah, I'll wrap it up. It's an outrage. It's an outrage. I feel like a circus act jumping through hoops. And I've done everything that it is that you've asked me to do. And then we've got people coming in from out of state like they're grand heroes, but they are conducting activities that require a license, and they don't have a license. Not only that, they were conducting license in conjunction with a couple of brokers, and in their webpage they said such and such a broker is doing the bid calling. Why does an auctioneer need a bid caller? I'll tell you why, to avoid the licensing law. And not only that, they're representing this guy as a broker. He's not a broker, he's an associate broker. They don't even know the difference between a broker and an associate broker. And so therefore, and Goldman and Delaney and Weekly, they did nothing. These are clear violations. They were conducting activities that require a license, and they don't have one. And they're competing with me unfairly. They're damaging me, and they're damaging the public. Number 3, Department of State work, specifically the Attorney General, to address auctioneers conducting activities that require licenses in New York. Number 4, New York State Department of State discipline the licensed brokers who allow unlicensed operators to conduct activities that require licensure on their listings. For example, these people were conducting open houses. That's a licensed activity. They shouldn't be doing it. And the broker condoned it. Nothing was done. Number 5, and the final one, an easy one. require anyone advertising real estate for sale in any media form place their license number along with their proper license name in the advertisement. That way, if the auctioneer is going to fabricate a license number, then you know it's fraud. If it's not there, then the public knows that it's not legitimate. That is it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Franklin. Anyone else in Albany like to make a public comment? So, no? Okay, meeting dates, Sharon.
Yes, so our next date is September 13th, and then December 6th, and that meeting will be held in Rochester instead of Buffalo.
Okay, so if you have any conflicts with those dates, please let Sharon know within a week so we can make adjustments to the schedule if necessary. Adjournment. I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Yeah. A second? Here? I have a second to the motion to adjourn, please?
Second.
Thank you.
I
In
second.
favor?
Dale Burnett, second.
Yep. In favor?
Aye.
Okay, the meeting's adjourned. Don't leave. This is one of the meetings where we do have a scheduled public hearing session. I'm going to turn it over to Dave Mossberg.
Thank you. RPL 442 I-6 requires that in addition to the regularly scheduled board meetings, that there be at least one public hearing scheduled in New York City, one public hearing scheduled in Buffalo, and one public hearing scheduled in Albany. The purpose of these meetings are specifically to solicit from members of the public suggestions, comments, and observations about real estate practice in New York State. This is the first of these such meetings, and so at this time we'll open it up to any of the members of the public who wishes to offer comments, suggestions, or observations about real estate in New York. So I'll start in New York City. Any comments? Any additional comments from Buffalo? Any comments from Albany?
No.
No. All right. With that, this concludes the first public hearing session in compliance with 442 I-6. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you, everybody. We'll see you September 13th.